Hello everybody, this is Chichihiro and welcome back to my playthrough of 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. In the previous episode, we made decisions about how this playthrough is gonna be like for the remainder of it. We were essentially talking about I'm gonna let this dialogue, this bit of dialogue that we've already seen before, play out just because I'm so interested to see what Junpei's inner narration, inner voice has to say about it. And again, sorry if that makes the pacing slow. I know that these episodes go out, I mean, of course I know. I schedule these episodes to go every 2 days. So I'm very sorry if you're looking forward to some new action and you don't really care for this part as much as I do. But as I said before, it's my playthrough. I get to share all my thoughts and on stuff that we've seen before, but it's now recontextualized based on what we know. So I'm having fun. I hope you are too. Let's jump right into it. So we're here at the large hospital room and Santa's waiting right by the Reds. So let's see what he has to say. Junpei and Jun walked up to Santa.
What are you doing?
What? You can't tell? I'm checking out the red.
It's definitely shady that they were fixed on their own. Well, not on their own, obviously, but, you know, while we were gone.
Why? Is there something bothering you?
Yeah.
What? It's not bothering you?
Huh?
The guts of this red.
The guts.
Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in here?
Very colorful language.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm curious too, but...
And I did wonder in the previous episode if June knows something about this because, I don't know, something tells me that her reaction is like strange, isn't it? Like, I don't know.
Who do you think did it?
Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at June. She shook her head.
I don't know.
Well, what about you, Junpei? Who do you think fixed this thing for us?
Right, so the option that's grayed out, that's the one I picked on my previous playthrough. Someone older than the 8 of them. Snake, Lotus, or Zero, or someone older than the 8 of them. I picked that one because at that point, I wasn't sure exactly how many people were on the ship. I wasn't sure if Zero was the same person as the person in the mask that kidnapped us, and I guess we still don't have solid information of that. It's just, you know, the kind of face that they've been using to illustrate Zero, so I'm going with that for now. But at the same time, now we know Guy X. What's up with that? Who's he? I don't know. He's just roaming. Well, at this point, he's not. He would have already been killed by Ace, if I remember correctly. But he was up and walking. He could have done it. I don't want to choose the same option as before, so even though I don't think this is it, I'm gonna say Zero. Or actually, could Zero have done it? Like if someone else that's not affiliated with Zero broke this or deactivated this, would Zero like intervene? Because at the time I mentioned, this is such like an artificial roadblock. We have the rules of the game, we have a very clearly established time limit. Why would they artificially put a roadblock for these doors? I don't think that's something that Zero has done. So Zero could have intervened and fixed this for us. I don't know. So let's go with this.
I think it was probably Zero.
Why?
Isn't that obvious? He's the guy who set this whole thing up.
Yeah?
I don't think that should mean the opposite. Seems to me like that means he didn't do it.
No, because Zero wants us to play this game. For some reason. Well, I suspect that some of the reasons have to do with some sort of vengeance for the previous Nonary game. I lack a lot of context. It's just what I'm running with,
I mean,
you know?
who do you think took that stuff out in the first place?
Probably Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. I don't think Zero did this.
Then why the hell would he put him back in after he'd taken them out himself? It just doesn't make sense. Why do all that work?
Huh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So, what happened then? Who put that stuff back in the reds?
Junpei furrowed his brow.
So, in other words, one of us is the person who fixed the red.
Santa grinned.
Bingo! We have a winner.
But if that's true, then the person who did it doesn't want the rest of us to know that they fixed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the implication there. And we also have, later on, I think it's Clover who's gonna bring this up, the possibility that Zero is one of us. So, something to consider.
But why?
Personally, I don't think that's gonna be the case, but we'll see.
No idea. Maybe if they come clean on that, it means we'd find out something else. Something bad.
If they come clean on that, on fixing this, it means we'd find out something else, something bad. Like Trader who's collaborating with Zero, something like that.
Something bad?
Dunno. But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course, it could have something to do with Snake's disappearance.
You think maybe they did something to Snake?
Yeah.
Again, not Zero. The same time, we didn't learn why he ended up in the coffin, did we? Am I just forgetting the very end of the previous playthrough? It's been a couple weeks, maybe, in real time since I recorded that, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's just move on. Junpei stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Junpei wary. At first, he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever, but Junpei was beginning to think he would need to reevaluate that assessment. Look at this dialogue, yeah? Up until now, Santa has been like, like the rowdy kind of guy, but he's been doing some work. I don't necessarily agree with his deductions, but it's something. When Santa spoke again, his voice was
Look,
quiet.
if you trust anybody in this game, you're gonna lose.
He's so distrustful.
Gotta be careful. The person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabs you in the back.
And I get it, based on his backstory. Definitely not an easy life he would have had, so yeah. But I wonder if he has had any particularly salient experiences with being betrayed for him to say something like this. With that depressing suggestion, he turned and quietly walked
And
away.
that's that, I guess.
Junpei and Jun looked at one another and smiled awkwardly. Yeah. She was just trying to relieve the tension, I guess. Where would they go next? I don't know if there's any reason to go back to these places, but actually, since I didn't do it in the last playthrough, and we're here wasting time anyways, what about going back?
Let's go take a look around the casino.
Okay.
Is that gonna repeat the dialogue? Because if it is, I'm definitely skipping that. But
There's no one here.
okay, so she's moved
Let's
on.
try somewhere else.
The first class cabin.
Let's go take a look at the first class cabin. It's really close.
It's gonna also say it's empty.
No one's here. Maybe we'll have more luck somewhere else. But where?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe all of them are gonna be empty, but just for thoroughness sake, let's go to the hallway with all the rooms.
Why don't we go back to C deck? We can take a look at that hallway with all the rooms.
Okay, let's get going then.
Together they ran down the stairs.
Oh, nobody's here.
Snake, of course, was nowhere to
Let's
be
look
found.
somewhere else.
But where?
And now we're back to the large hospital room. I think
Why don't we
that's
go back to
time.
the big hospital room?
Okay, let's go then.
All right, so this was nothing, but that's good to know. They turned and headed back toward the large hospital room.
I don't think anyone is here. What next?
And we'll finish searching. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found.
Snake hasn't been anywhere we've searched.
Yeah. Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke.
We can't keep looking for him. Wherever he is, it's not here. We need to get moving.
Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point to wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Look at this. Getting to see what Junpei's exact stance on this is. Very interesting. Finally, Seven spoke.
We don't got a choice. Lotus is right.
This is so hard.
We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. We've got to figure out who's gonna go through which door.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I have a proposal.
She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped.
Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice?
And this back here.
Sacrifice?
Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yes.
But it's what we are going to do. Of course, it's not going to be forever, but they don't know this.
You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind.
Leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. Oh boy. Is this gonna affect something later on? I bet it is. But if it is, we'll run with it. If it's not, then good. I'm gonna agree with her, honestly. It does make the most sense from an utilitarian point of view. It's not something... It's not a decision I would like to make in real life, but this is a video game. I get to see what happens if I choose certain dialogue choices. It wasn't pleasant, but she was right. There wasn't any way that the numbers worked out. If one group was 4, the other group would always have a digital route that didn't match a door. When Seven spoke, his voice was strained.
Then... you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind.
Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution.
From an utilitarian point of view.
If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves.
No, that's too cruel!
And of course, June can't agree to this.
What's so cruel about it?
To just sacrifice someone like that?
Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1.
That's not what I meant! We shouldn't sacrifice anyone!
But what other options are there, realistically, in this situation?
I told you, that's impossible. Wake up.
Whoa, whoa, calm down, you two.
Santa stepped between Lotus and Jim.
Look, what Lotus is trying to say is, you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right?
Uh-huh, what I was talking about.
Exactly. That's how democracy works.
That's how utilitarianism works. I didn't pronounce that correctly at all. I know what I'm talking about, guys. It's just, language is difficult. The English language is difficult.
And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote.
Really? Honestly, though, it's not difficult, like from a grammatical point of view. Pronunciation-wise, jeez, what a language.
What do you think?
No! That's terrible!
I'm not asking you. Shut up.
Okay, Lotus, calm down.
What about you, Santa?
Me? Well, I agree, I guess.
All right, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7.
I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die.
Oh, glad to see you get it. If I can get 1 more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover?
And of course we know what she's gonna say. Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body drooped. Junpei didn't know if she'd Junpei didn't know if she'd even heard Lotus's proposal.
Hey, Clover.
This is interesting. She wasn't really paying attention, and now Lotus approaches her, and like on a first person. No, that's not what I wanted to say. Like on a personal basis, she's like, "Hey, come on," you know. Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder.
Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We've searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow?
Clover slowly lifted her face.
Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him.
And now she's giving her exactly what she wants. Her brother. Or the possibility, the hope that her brother's gonna be behind one of the doors.
You agree with me, right?
Okay.
Clover nodded once.
The motion carries.
Lotus spun around and walked toward Junpei.
Now, let's start a vote to...
That won't be necessary.
And here it comes, guys. The big act of self-sacrifice. I was so taken by. Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. They didn't seem to notice or even care.
I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes?
He didn't seem to notice or even care that we were all looking at him. He can't process faces. He can't process expressions. God damn it. Look at this writing. Isn't this great?
Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything.
Jun's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her.
June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself.
Yeah, he's counting on us to come back or whatever. Yeah, we know this.
Huh?
I trust you. Each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's optimistic, and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out.
Yeah, that's as far as we know for now.
If we go through them.
You won't be able to return, correct?
Yeah.
True, but that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship.
What?
Please, I beg you, once you've escaped, come back and rescue me.
Sure.
Ideally, within the time limit Zero has given us.
Okay, any other requests?
No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time.
Jeez, I'm so mean to him, but I hope you know that I'm being mean to him, you know, for the comedy. Like, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I really like him as a character. Like, I'm so intrigued and drawn to him just for the fact that he's like such a role. What I'm talking about is such a plot relevant character that we don't know much about for now. But as the revelations are gonna keep piling up, I'm sure we'll figure more and more out. Like exactly what went on with that Nonary game 9 years ago, you know? Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no
We've
longer.
only got 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you?
Yeah.
Then, perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind?
No. Ace's voice was dignified and without a hint of cruelty or malice. He's good at masking, I'll give him that. Junpei had no
You
rebuttal.
see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me.
And actually, I wonder if at this point he knows if the doors connect back to this. Because he's organized a Nonary game before. If the rules and the mechanics and everything were exactly the same, he would know that the doors, some of the doors at least, well, we can say for sure, but they might connect back and the players will have to backtrack. I don't know if he's just like taking a gamble a real risky gamble while knowing that he'll be safe, or if this is no, 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 no. I'm not gonna fall for it again. He definitely knows we'll be back. There's no way he's just saying he'll sacrifice himself when we know the lengths he's willing to go to get out of this place.
Go, quickly.
Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lips so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against the wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Interesting. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others. I wonder if Clover is feeling like some sort of gratitude towards him for doing this so that they keep moving forward and look for Snake. Oh, little does she know.
Let's accept his kind offer then.
She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own.
Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. It
Yeah.
may be my age, but I get tired so easily these days.
Yeah. As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down on the floor, to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard the screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship were screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? It better. Already the deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first.
Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up?
As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once.
You're right. We should get going. That's all we can do right now.
7.
Seriously. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk.
Okay, Santa, big, tough guy, no emotions, just cutthroat attitude.
You too, Santa? I have to find my brother.
By the way, Santa seems like he's definitely also like putting on a front. Like he cares. He cares. He just cares. I think. But you know, in this situation, this is just the kind of defense mechanism he has. That's the that's what I'm willing to give him. You know.
Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this.
Oh, June.
There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be.
And there is or was a way, but unfortunately, we blew that up. And I wouldn't have put it any other way.
Right, Jumpy? Say something.
Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way.
His words sounded hollow and fake.
Fine. Forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own.
She spun around and ran toward Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled.
Ace! Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here.
Then it happened. There he goes. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden door, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold.
Ace!
That's an interesting metaphor. June cried out. It's not a metaphor, it's a simile. June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up.
What happened? Ace, say something!
She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open.
I'm all right.
His voice was weak and slightly slurred.
How are you all right?
This.
He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand.
A syringe?
Yeah, what was the name of the drug? Well, I can see it here. Soporil. He just had this on his coat like all along? And if so, what was he thinking? Like, what was he planning to use it for? Or was he planning to use it for at all? And was it all for show here? Is it gonna come into play later? The vial seems empty, so who knows? Hmm. And by the way, did he actually like inject himself with it here? I don't know. He could just be pretending. I don't know. And it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It's not a drug that's gonna be dangerous to him, and he knows it. So he could have. It doesn't lose much. He gets to take a nap as he wanted. Sure. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. Okay, thanks for confirming that for me. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read Soporil Beta. Hmm. Soporil Beta?
Soporil beta. What does this do? Did you use this?
Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine.
Anesthetic.
I found it earlier.
Or did he have it on his person? For some reason, I assumed that maybe Zero wouldn't have gone through his coat, but I mean, they would have, you know? So maybe he did find it on the ship. It just so happens that is the medicine that his company manufactures, so he gets to use it without, risking much because he knows exactly what it does.
While we were searching the hospital rooms,
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself.
Why did you do this?
Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am very tired.
Junpei knew that wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and Jun's attempt to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. I mean, Seven could probably carry him, but anyway, he injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind.
Ace.
Hmm? Is there something you want to say? I just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down?
Okay, sure.
No, don't, Ace. Don't fall asleep.
Ah, you feel warm.
Oh, you don't get to say this. I really did not care for the way he talked about Clover when he was taunting. That was disgusting, wasn't it? When he was taunting Snake about the way he'd stabbed Clover. That was so creepy. What the hell? Fuck off.
So comfortable.
No, get out. June, come here.
I think I'll have a nice dream.
Like, oh, god damn it. I'm enjoying this. Again, reassurance, just in case this is not like real anger. It's just, kind of exaggerated for the sake of commentary. Ace's eyelids drooped further and further, almost as though he were dying.
Ace! Ace!
She shook his shoulder again and again. But this time he didn't respond. Quick, check his coat! Now that we know what's in there. He's probably got like 20 more vials of Soporil or something. And, of course, we also know what's in there. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was, in fact, still breathing.
Let's get him up on a bed.
Okay. See, in the previous episode, not episode, what am I talking about? That was ages ago. In the previous playthrough, I was, for a moment, I was worried that he'd like overdose on it and like he'd actually died or that he was going to die. But that's obviously not the case, so I was worried for nothing. He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of
Well,
pity.
we really don't have a choice now. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste, right?
Uh-huh.
like you even mean that.
Oh, look at Junpei. He's so mad.
You say something?
No, nothing.
It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Yeah, he has to agree. Like, he agrees with her position, but he doesn't agree with the way she's talking about it, you know? Like, just because you have to make difficult decisions doesn't mean that you have to be callous and cold about it. Of course, like, getting desperate and, you know, acting irrationally is also not gonna help, but you could show a little bit of sympathy, you know? Then suddenly Santa spoke.
Yeah, but we're not done choosing yet, are we?
Huh? What do you mean?
Now we're coming up on an important choice, and I'm going to explain my reasoning in a second, because I've already made my choice.
Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door.
Ah, yes. Yes, that's true.
Enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want?
I want door number 8.
Okay.
It's the same number as my bracelet number.
Got it.
Sure.
You're 8. You're next, 7. Which one do you want?
I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady.
Oh, I know.
What? What did you just say?
Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step forward. 7. Oh, she's excuse me. She's gonna throw hands. Why did that trip me up? It's like a personal pronoun. That's not even that difficult to pronounce. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in a cookie jar.
Who, me? I didn't say nothing.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Oh, you're gonna get it next time.
Yeah, get him. She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and stalked off.
Alright, who's next?
Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei.
Junpei, which door do you want?
At last, Junpei's mind was already made up. Indeed, his mind was made up, as is mine, because we're going to go through door 7. Now, I've thought about this before, but let me show you. Well, flow? Okay, so let me not show you, apparently, because I can't look at the flow screen right now. But of the 2 paths that we haven't taken yet, one of them seems to go, like, further away from the others, and that seems special. And I'll bet that's the one behind door 3, because we know what's behind door 3. And believe me, I'm extremely curious to see what's behind door 3. But that's precisely why I want to leave it for our 3rd time around when we get back to this point. So I'm gonna go with door 7, actually. Even though door 3 is the one that's begging me to choose it, I think door 7 is gonna be our choice for this playthrough. Now, I don't know if I'm screwing myself up because of the choices I've made and the choices and the pieces of information that I've yet to learn, but it is what it is, and we'll get the ending we get. And again, I'm going in blind, so I would appreciate if it could stay that way. So door 7 it is. And if I'm right about this, we should be going in with 7 and Clover. So that's gonna be interesting because we've spent time with them on different playthroughs behind different doors, but not with them at the same time and not on this playthrough. So it's gonna be an interesting combination.
I think I'm gonna go with door 7.
Okay, 7 it is.
Yeah.
Alright then, that means June's gotta go through 8.
Yeah, and it's not possible for us to go through the same door with this group configuration.
What? Why?
What?
Santa grimaced and muttered angrily to himself, but finally began to
If
explain.
the 6 of us are gonna keep going without leaving anyone behind,
Yeah,
there are only 3 ways we can do it.
plan
Have
A.
3, 5, and 8 go through 7. And
Oh, sorry, I skipped that. 3, 5, and 8 go through 7, and 4, 6, and 7 go through 8. Plan B.
4, 5, and 7 go through 7. And 3, 6, and 8 go through 8.
Actually, No, they're not gonna let me choose this because Lotus has already said she wants to go through door 8, and Seven has already said he wants to go through door 7. So this is the groups that we're gonna make, I believe. Plan
4,
C.
3, 6, and 7 go through 7, and 4, 5, and 8 get 8.
And this is what we did in our previous playthrough, where we went with Clover and Lotus.
There are no other combinations. In other words, 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now?
As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up at the corners of her eyes.
Oh no! You're saying we aren't gonna see each other again for a long time.
Yeah, but we have to do it. Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face, especially in a situation like this where morale is so low and they've been so close to each other because they know each other from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, like from way before getting here. So yeah. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile.
Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never gonna see each other again.
Yeah.
We gotta split up, but only for a while. This is just like when we went into the 4 and 5 doors, remember?
Yeah, and we know for sure that they're meeting again. Like, this is not just me having knowledge, because we need to open door 9 eventually. None of these groups are gonna make door 9, so we're gonna have to join each other again.
We got split up then too, but we all met back up. I'll bet 7 and 8 are just like that.
You mean they're connected somewhere?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected.
I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere.
Why? What makes you think so?
I think he's thinking what I'm thinking.
If they don't, then neither team can get through door 9.
Yeah, look at this.
In other words, the game would end right here. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now.
That's certainly a way to put it.
I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants to have his fun as long as possible.
Yeah, he's also having fun, like antagonizing Zero, like in his head. Just like I'm having with Ace. Honestly, at this point, I'm more angry at Ace than I'm at Zero, but just because Ace is kind of fun to hate, you know?
He's not gonna end this game until we get through the 9 door.
June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. He met them, and with what reassurance he could manage, laid his hand gently on her shoulder.
Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again. I promise.
Yeah. June bit her lip and gave him an almost imperceptible nod. This is a typo, by the way. It's an I.
Yes. Promise?
Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment.
You guys are done, right?
Yeah, come on, big tough guy. He stretched and continued.
Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 8 and Clover can take 7. Any problems with that, Clover?
Clover looked away and was silent for a moment.
Whatever.
It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care.
All right, we're ready to go then. Let's move.
At Santa's command, the group split and headed for their respective doors. And this is gonna be the end of this episode. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I know that this was probably a lot to get through, a lot of dialogue that we've already seen, but at the same time, I'm having so much fun. I hope that you know that. I keep saying it. Please, if you're also having fun, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to continue supporting the channel. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye for now.